Ooh, vampires! Oh, wait. It's aliens again! Yes, folks, it is time once again for an overdue Doctor Who review, and this particular episode of Council of Geeks is being sponsored by Dashlane. It's a top-rated desktop and mobile app that helps make the irritating and riskier parts of having an online life a little bit simpler and a little bit safer. This includes a password manager and digital wallet to easily navigate all your accounts across the web, breach alerts if any of these accounts are ever compromised, dark web monitoring, and even a built-in VPN with Country Select. It works across all devices and platforms, so you no longer have to worry about saving passwords to specific devices. The app is free to download, and if you follow the link in the description, you'll get Dashlane Premium free for 30 days using the code Council of Geeks, which will also net you 10% off if you decide to keep the service. So consider giving it a look, either right now or at the other side of this after I'm done talking about vampires in Venice. An episode that I have not watched since its original airing. Not because it's bad, I honestly forget it exists. And to give you an idea of to what degree I tend to forget this thing exists, I actually had to rearrange my schedule because I completely forgot to put this one on here when I was working out my shooting schedule and my docket. I skipped it and went right to Amy's Choice. Yeah. So, Vampires in Venice. For as forgettable as I find this one to be, first of all, as I said, it's not bad. There's nothing actually all that really wrong with it. It's just got a lot of, well, I was going to say it's got a lot that isn't memorable. I guess the pithier way is just say nothing about it particularly is. It still has some decent stuff in it. I actually, especially knowing how things will develop later on, I'm having a lot of fun on this rewatch, paying close attention to Rory and Amy. And actually, I'm not as down about Amy having tried to jump the Doctor's bones as I was when it first happened. Because when it first happened, my initial thought was, oh God, here we go again. Because obviously, Rose was in love with the Doctor, and Martha had a massive crush on him. Donna didn't, which is why Donna is the best. It's not the only reason, but it's part of the reason. So it really bummed me out to see kind of coming back to this. But the thing is, now that I'm actually paying more attention, and not just sort of taking it as a, oh God, this again kind of thing, there's a bit more nuance going on here than I had first given it credit for. Now, granted, the actual attempt to get it on with him was last episode, but we're dealing with the fallout from that, and it's this episode where it kind of clicked for me a little bit more. The thing is, and what clicked this into place was seeing Rory, seeing him at his bachelor party, and seeing how excited he was, leaving that message for Amy. The difference between the two of them is that Rory believes very firmly that marrying Amy is going to be the most exciting thing that ever happens to him. Whereas Amy is terrified that if she hasn't already had the most exciting thing possible happen to her, that getting married means it never will happen. It's not that she doesn't love Rory, or that she does. It's not even that she doesn't want to marry him. She is haunted by the idea that she's going to miss out by being tied down. Whereas he is thrilled to get married because he's like, this is the best thing ever. So their expectations for their lives are kind of out of sync, while at the same time she does still feel for him. And I like how much emphasis she put on the fact that she's not in love with the Doctor. She did want to get with him, but again, that feeds into this whole idea of she wants to be sure she's experienced as much as she can before she gets married. And that just is another thing on the list of things to try and experience before it's too late. So, while I still don't love that it was done because I don't think it was necessary. I do think that vibe is still there, and that pull towards the Doctor because he represents this wild adventuring life that she feels she won't get to have anymore once she's married, that's still there without her trying to actually have sex with him. So I still don't think it was necessary, but like I said, not as down on the concept at least as I once was. Why did I spend so much time talking about Amy and Rory? Well, again, that has expansion out from this episode. The episode itself is you know what this episode does have? This episode has very good music. The Vampires in Venice track, good stuff. I like the use of the chorus in it. It's nice work from Murray Gold. But other than that, I mean, there's just a random smattering of kind of neat ideas. The library card gag for the Doctor, that's kind of cute. I like his reaction to seeing the vampires and him running away but being excited, like, oh, this is Christmas. I love that. The dynamic going on between Amy, Rory, and the Doctor is actually clicking pretty much right off the bat. So I was impressed at how immediately that fell into place. And Rory displaying that he's pretty observant. Like, Amy, it's not that Amy doesn't think much of him. Again, she does love him, but she underestimates his capabilities. And the Doctor barely tends to notice him, but he's got the Doctor's number in a lot of ways, especially when he points out to the Doctor, you're dangerous because you make people want to impress you. They do dangerous things because they think that's what you expect of them. And that's pretty solid observation for somebody who really doesn't know much about him. And I kind of like that he took the wind out of the Doctor's sails by not saying it's bigger on the inside when he gets inside the TARDIS. But, you know, I'm focusing on Amy, Rory, a little on the Doctor, because that's what's good. Because the three of them together are good. The rest of the episode, I mean, okay, Venice is it's a perfectly fine setting. It's a fun setting. It's a visually enjoyable setting. The notion of doing vampires in general, first of all, it feeds into the, oh, look, this classic folklore monster, oh, wait, it's aliens thing that Doctor Who does a lot, and I don't care for most of the time. So there's that. I do kind of like the explanation that the reason we can see the teeth is that even though the perception filter is up, the human brain registers that something is threatening them, and it kind of integrates the teeth just so that the human being registers, oh, danger, run. I kind of like that as an explanation. But I've mentioned this before, you know, fish people. I mean, I wish they had either devised an alien that fits better into the vampire motif. I mean, maybe bats is a little too obvious, but like fish? Fish. And the CGI is, I mean, it's Doctor Who CGI, so it's not exceptionally good. And like it's a pretty generic scheme they've got going on. It's the kind of thing that we've seen over and over and over again. It's, for God's sakes, we've actually seen this since the third episode since the show came back. Their plan is not that different from the Gelth. You know, this kind of thing has been done to death, and this really adds no new spin to it. The one other thing that I need to address, because I have almost nothing to say about the plot of this thing, or the specific action beats. I feel like they play very fast and loose with how bright the sun has to be to kill one of these things, because like the mommy's boy, which is also kind of dumb and cliche and I don't really care for, a little sun glints on his face like, and then Amy reflects sun with the mirror. I'm like, okay, how is that strong enough to blow him up, but what was shining in his face a minute ago wasn't? Like, can you make up your mind? You know, it's just there. But anyways, so Last episode, when I talked about Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone, I kind of went off on one about the cracks in time. And I believe what I said was that Prisoner Zero passed through a crack and they never function like that ever again. They function differently after that. Yeah, that was it. Well, that's not true. Them being acknowledged as a way to pass between two different points in space and time happens here as well. And we actually even get an acknowledgement here that some of the cracks do that, some of them do something else. So, I was wrong. In my defense, this is the single most forgettable episode of Series 5. So, like, I'm sorry, but I also feel like it almost suffices as the review. Just that fact in and of itself. But, yeah, I still will say that they're having the cracks just do whatever moves the plot forward, and there really isn't a lot of consistency or rhyme or reason. It is nice to have it acknowledged that they're not all operating the same way. So, you know, I'm not going to retract my annoyance, but I will retract the degree, the volume of my annoyance from the last review. I'll retract that at least and acknowledge, okay, they do actually acknowledge this fact. So they're not treating us like idiots. They are saying, yes, no, we know, please go with us, and which is more reasonable. That's usually all I ask. And I suppose the fact that I just don't like, you know, the mystery box plotting device for a season arc means that I'm only going to give it a partial pass. But honestly, if that's enough to get you to roll with it, that's fine. Most of the time, that's enough to get me to roll with it. Maybe the other thing is the fact that them covering the fact that the crack's working different ways happens after the first story where the crack is behaving completely differently from the previous time. So it feels more like a retcon fix than a planned thing. I don't know. I think, sometimes I worry. I try very hard to leave my frustration with things that either go on later or my bitterness at narrative pet peeves at the door, but I don't always succeed. And sometimes I hold things feet to the fire for things that I'll give a pass in other instances, stuff that I just like better. This is precisely why I don't do a number or letter or any kind of rating system at the end of this, because so much of this is arbitrary, and if I start laying down hard rules and hard numbers like this episode has this value, people will start thinking there's precedent and consistency, and there is not. And the fact that I have now just gone on a tangent talking about a rating system and why I don't have one, which is something I've already done a full freaking video on, I think that indicates I really have nothing more to say about this episode. Vampires in Venice! What did you think about it? You seen it again recently? Do you remember it? I barely do. I just rewatched it. I still barely remember it. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's other stuff down there as well. You can support this channel on Patreon. Even $1 a month is a massive help. Even if you don't want to do that, there's other stuff to check down there as well. There's my socials, a link to the book that I wrote, things of that nature. Click on things, check them out, or you also don't have to. It'd be awesome, but I'm not going to tell you what to do, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned.